Time and patience on an epic scale were required at our next house, hidden away deep in the Worcestershire countryside. Damien Burrows went to find it.
What an incredible setting. The house is just framed perfectly by the flanks of the bridge.
Reaching back 400 years into the past is the old courthouse, once a family home for small-scale farmers in the 17th century. It's a house of two halves. On one side is a careful restoration of an old ruin with salvaged timbers and sympathetic reproduction fittings, while the other half is built from scratch, light and modern, but in the spirit of the original. It took over 5 years to bring this old house back to life. In the old part, there's a basement, a library room and a study on the ground floor, and 2 bedrooms on the first floor. It's connected by a hallway to the new section, where there's an open-plan living room and kitchen, 2 bedrooms on the first floor and another bedroom and study in the attic. The man who oversaw the epic task of building this was architect Brookes. The RIBA judges praised the amazing job Rees and his team did in salvaging as much of the old building as they could, from roof tiles to 400-year-old timbers, in order to make a new home of distinctive character.
Oh, this is such a great room.
The library, as with much of this part of the house, has been entirely recreated from scratch. Getting the details right required some unorthodox detective work.
We did find some bits of what we believe were original Tudor panelling in a local farmhouse, acting as somebody's bed head, you know, and we were able to actually replicate the panelling from that.
Did you take his bed head?
We did take his bed head, yes.
The same level of detail and craftsmanship continues upstairs in the landing and bedrooms. Much of the original timber has been painstakingly salvaged, repaired and reused. And a new oak frame helps the gentle transition to the new part of the house.
It's light, it's airy, it's really wide, and you've got stunning views out. The change in the character of the room, going from the medieval part of the house into the new, you would automatically think that that would be quite a harsh transition. It's much more subtle.
Using timber framing in both actually brings them together. We had a palette of materials that we inherited from the historic structure, and we've just felt that actually, to get the continuity, we've just pulled those through into the new bit.
The distinction between old and new in this house is clear but subtle. New roof tiles were made in 4 different sizes, and their colours were carefully matched to the old salvaged tiles. The windows, too, are new, but utterly traditional in design. They were made by a small firm in Warwickshire. What could be more characterful than an ancient and authentically crafted home? Unless, of course, you have to physically build the thing.
At times it seemed it was taking 4 steps back, 1 step forward.
The current tenants are big fans too. A retired army officer, Giles, and his family.
It's incredible what can be achieved when you take the time to understand a building and truly get to know its past. Rees and his team have spent the past 5 years painstakingly restoring this old wreck, and in the process, they've created an architectural masterpiece.
So that completes today's selection from the long list for House of the Year. The Gin Distillery, infused with light and imagination. Coastal House, a marvel of pared-back ruggedness. Old Shed New House that wraps a home around a library. Duncan Cottage, where Georgian meets modern. And the revived ruin of the old courthouse. You've chosen how many projects for the shortlist?
We've chosen 2, and the first of them is Old Shed New House. Old Shed is a model for the future of reusing existing agricultural buildings and turning them into modern dwellings.
The library is a key
powerful room, isn't it?
This is the jewel in the crown for me because it works on so many levels, on 3 sides, all behind the books, it's all mirrored. It's a very clever way of enlarging a room, which is really quite domestic in scale. You're looking at it as an architect going, that's very clever. Well, the second one is Coastal House. It is a very clever reimagining of an existing country house. You actually feel like you're a detective trying to work out which bits of the building were original and which bits are new. For a long time they spoke about building a new house, and only fairly late in the day realised that they could work with what was there. And therefore it's the skill of the architects who have managed to really redress this house and transform it into something for modern living.
So, the bookish barn that is Old Shed New House and the delightfully reworked Coastal House join Red House and Pheasants on the shortlist. We'll be finding out who the overall winner of the RIBA House of the Year is at the end of the series.